Welcome in, everyone, to the Lucky Shots podcast, week 4 of the NFL season. It's the Game Day show today. Let's get this adjusted a bit. There we go. It's going to be another fun week. I mean, nothing has happened as planned, really, through the first 3 weeks. And this week, probably going to be more of the same. Let's hop back into week 3 last week with a recap. How about Miami taking out Buffalo? And looking at the box score, how the hell did they do it? Buffalo had 283 more yards, 16 more first downs, ran 51 more plays, and had over 20 more minutes with the ball. And somehow Miami still gets the W. I don't know how it happened. The game ended terribly with a guy having a clear shot to run out of bounds, save some clock, and he just stayed in bounds. Buffalo, I'm sure you've seen the clip of the offensive coordinator up in the box, not too happy about it. I wouldn't be either. It's a game they should have won. They didn't. You had Tua get a concussion or some sort of thing. We'll see if he plays this week, but big win for Miami, keeping them as one of the only 2 undefeated teams in the NFL right now. Then, how about Tennessee finally finding their legs against Vegas? They won 24-22. Derrick Henry finally had a huge game. He had 20 carries, 85 yards, and a touchdown. Tacked on 5 catches as well for 58 yards. Main focal point of their offense has to be. So, can they keep that going? Who knows? They haven't looked really good the first 2 weeks. Finally get a win against Vegas, who's also struggling, who's 0-3 now. So, be interesting to see if Tennessee can keep that rolling this week. Minnesota and Detroit. We figured it would have been a close game. It was a close game, but Minnesota pulled it out at the very end, 28-24. Now, here's the thing. Detroit, they had 2 different 10-plus point leads. They blew a 14-point lead in the first half and a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter. It's a testament to Minnesota being able to handle adversity, come back, play through, and win. But also just shows that Detroit still has some work to do in closing out football games. How about another team finding their legs in a very unexpected way? Indianapolis beats Kansas City 20-17. It's the Colts' first win, and guess what? Last week they really struggled, couldn't get any offense going because guess what? They gave Jonathan Taylor the ball only 10 times. This week, he had 21 carries, 3 catches, 91 yards. The recipe to you having more success is getting the ball in Jonathan Taylor's hands. They did that this past week, and they got results out of it. And how about Jelani Woods? The rookie tight end scored their only 2 touchdowns. So nice little breakout for him there. Another huge, I wouldn't even say upset, but another big game is Jacksonville took out the Chargers. And they didn't just beat them. They beat the shit out of them, 38-10. Trevor Lawrence looking really good. He had 269 yards and 3 touchdowns. James Robinson continuing to prove this is my backfield. I don't know why you drafted somebody else. This is for me. He had 116 yards and a touchdown. They controlled the ball. Seemed like they were moving at will. Don't sleep on Jacksonville. They're looking pretty good throughout the first 3 weeks. And that's a really decisive win over a team in the Chargers that should be pretty good this year. Yes, Justin Herbert was he's trying to get over that rib injury. Might need to just take a week off or something because he didn't look good throughout the whole game. And for the love of God, get Mike Williams the football. He had 1 catch, and it was for a touchdown. But if you don't have Keenan Allen on the field, your next best guy is Mike Williams. He should be getting, not force-fed, but he should be getting a healthy amount of targets since he is the next best receiver you have. Nothing wrong with spreading the ball around, but you got to get your playmakers the ball. And then how about the absolute trash bag of a game on, I believe it was Sunday night, Denver and San Francisco. 11-10. Denver won because Jimmy G ran out of the back of the end zone. pitiful looking game. San Francisco offensively was absolutely atrocious. 1 for 10 on third downs and had 3 turnovers. And the Denver offense only averaged 3.7 yards a play. It was not a fun game to watch. Unless you like the Denver Broncos defense. If you had them in fantasy, you were loving this game with 3 turnovers, not letting them convert third downs, getting sacks. Denver's defense hasn't ever been the problem for the last 5 years. It's been the offense. You think Russell Wilson's going to be the guy to change that. We still haven't seen it. I don't know what other excuses to make for Denver as a Broncos fan. It's just not looking good, and something needs to change because it is pitiful to watch. All right, so enough with week 3. Let's get into week 4. Let's hop into some games that I am in particular ready to watch. How about tonight's game, the Thursday night game? You got Miami against Cincinnati. Miami looking real good, coming off a huge win. They've got a good connection between Tua, Hill, Waddle, so they're looking solid on offense. Don't know if Tua is going to be playing. I haven't seen anything saying he won't, so that's good news. Good news for Miami's offense. But if you look on the other side of the ball, they're 31st against, or the 31st ranked defense when it comes to total yards. It's going to be tough. Hopefully that allows Cincinnati to start picking up more steam, where their offense has struggled a bit this year. But Miami is +2 in the turnover differential, so even if they're allowing a lot of yards, they're going to force some turnovers against, Cincy, who gives up the ball. They're -1 in turnover differential, so I think it's a good game for Miami. But I think it's also a game, Cincinnati coming off of their first win, I think it's something they can build on. They may not win, but they'll be able to move the ball offensively. There is probably going to be turnovers, but again, they're going to be able to get some offensive flow going throughout this game. It'll be fun to watch. Their offensive line, though, not looking good. 15 sacks through the first 3 weeks. Joe Burrow's not staying clean. So imagine tonight they're wearing all white helmets, white jerseys, white pants. Gonna look really cool, but Joe Burrow is going to be looking very green at the end of this game. Then Tennessee and Indy. This is a interesting game to watch because both teams are coming off of their first win. Indianapolis, their win a lot more significant in my opinion because it was against the Chiefs. So they're going to have a lot more momentum coming into this game, I think, than Tennessee. And again, last week they got Jonathan Taylor 24 touches. Got to do that again, especially against a Tennessee defense that isn't very good. Give Jonathan Taylor the ball, let him set up your offense, let things flow, and it could be a big game for Indy. They are 12th against the 12th ranked defense, but they do have a -3 turnover differential. So they're going to need to force some turnovers as well to get their offense back on the field. But they are 3rd against the run, so that doesn't spell anything good for Derrick Henry, who just came off of his best game of the season last week. He had 25 touches, so again, he's got to be that focal point for them to start moving the ball. I think it's going to be a defensive battle. It's going to be a lot of run game because that's the best 2 things that these 2 teams have. The only difference is Indianapolis, they're 3rd against the run. Tennessee's 29th against the run. So I think Indy's got a better defense. They've got a better rushing attack, better offense. Both teams -3 in the turnover differential, so it's probably going to be a sloppy game, but, it'll be fun to see who can actually edge it out and whether or not it is going to be a running defensive battle. So it's one to keep an eye out on for sure. Then I think probably the most exciting game, second to most exciting game of this week is going to be Jacksonville against Philly. Jacksonville is coming off of that signature win against the Chargers, 38-10. They're 6th in total offense, 7th in total defense, +7 turnover differential which leads the league. So they are just firing on all cylinders, looking good. Trevor Lawrence, he threw more interceptions and touchdowns last year. He only has one interception so far this year, averaging 257 yards a game, throwing at a 69% clip. I think it's time we stop sleeping on Jacksonville. I think they are starting to get things figured out. And it's honestly kind of fun to watch. This is what you wanted to see when they took Trevor Lawrence first overall. They've got weapons. They spent a lot of money for this offense. So it's good to see it paying off. And then Philly, just flat out the best team in the league right now. First in total offense, fifth in total defense, have a +4 turnover differential, which is third in the league. Jalen Hurts playing out of his mind, 305 passing yards a game, 55 rush yards a game. He has 7 touchdowns. You got the combo of A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith for 35 catches, 558 yards and 2 touchdowns. Their defense is outstanding. They've got 12 sacks, 4 interceptions. 2 of those are Darius Slay interceptions. So I still like Philly in the game. I think they right now are the team to beat in the league. It's still very early, but you know, let's say Jacksonville takes this game. Wow. Definitely going to have to keep your eye on Jacksonville throughout the season, but I think they keep this game close. They could, I would say if they win, it is an upset. So it's going to be another fun one to watch. 2 offenses that I think can explode, 2 defenses that could bottle them all up. So it's going to be a good one. Then you have Buffalo and Baltimore, another firepower heavy football game. Buffalo, they're coming off that frustrating loss, but Josh Allen's having a great season, already up over 1,000 yards, has 10 touchdowns. Their defense, number 1 overall against total defense, number 2 against the pass, number 2 against the rush, 4th in points given up, and they're +2 in the turnover differential category. So solid throughout, just like we expected them to be. A little hiccup last week against Miami. I think that's just fine. They're going to continue to play well. And they're going up against Baltimore, who defensively is 32nd overall, 32nd against the pass, 13 against the rush. They give up the 25th most points, but their saving grace is that they're +5 in the turnover category. So it's going to be interesting to see what Josh Allen does against this week of a defense, but it's also going to be interesting to see what Baltimore does. 38 and 37 points scored in their last 2 games. Lamar Jackson has nearly 1,000 yards so far, 12 touchdowns, which actually outpaces Josh Allen. So it's going to be a fun quarterback matchup to watch. Is Lamar going to be as successful against the best defense in the league? Is Josh Allen going to just absolutely annihilate the worst defense in the league? I think it can be a shootout, but Baltimore's going to have to try a lot harder because Buffalo's defense is a lot better. And then you end the week just about on Sunday night, Kansas City versus Tampa Bay. It's going to be a fun one to watch because it is Kansas City and Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay getting weapons back, so it'll be fun to see whether or not they start getting things going because it's been tough sledding for them. Coming off their loss to Green Bay, but they're 4th in total defense, 12th against the pass, 1st against points. They're only allowing 9 points a game, but on the flip side, you have Brady only averaging 224 yards a game, only 3 touchdowns so far. The status of Julio Jones, the status of Chris Godwin still up in the air. They will have Mike Evans back, which is the main focal point for the passing attack. But if you don't have Godwin, you don't have Julio, who continues to step up for you. Does Russell Gage continue what he did last week? Do you have Cole Beasley get a bigger part of this offense? Does Bashaud Perryman not fumble the football when he gets his hands on it? A lot of questions offensively still going into the game for them. Kansas City coming off of their kind of embarrassing loss to Indy, but they're 7th in total offense, 6th in pass, 4th overall in points. So We know that they can move the ball out offensively, but again, it's the question of, can they move it against this kind of defense? That's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. But it is a Sunday night game as well, and anything can happen in prime time. So we're going to have to see how that goes. All right, let's get into the weekly picks. Hopefully you're not following my picks too closely, because if you are, I'm leading you astray. I'm 22-25 on the season right now, but on the bright side, I am 2-1 on Thursday night football and 2-1 on Sunday night football. Don't take my word for it on Monday night picks, because I'm 1-3. But let's hop into it. So I had the plan of going in and actually picking all of these before I got on the show today. Didn't do that. So we've got Miami and Cincinnati on Thursday night football. We're going with Miami there. I think their offense is just too good, and there's too many problems on the Bengals side of the ball for them to, I think, pull out a game against Miami, who's a red-hot offense right now. Minnesota and New Orleans. It's going to be in London, 7:30 Mountain Time. Work that out if you're not in Mountain Time. It's early. It is early in the morning over in London. Minnesota and New Orleans. Got to take Minnesota there. There's a question of whether or not Jameis Winston's even going to be the quarterback. If he's not going to be the quarterback, who is? I think they have Ian Book. I don't know if Taysom Hill would be playing, so that's another question mark. Too much going on. And Minnesota's offense, I think, is still really good. So I think they get it handled. Cleveland and Atlanta. Got to take Cleveland here. You've got Nick Chubb averaging over 100 yards a game right now. Atlanta giving up a lot. Their offense is starting to click a little bit. Drake London is turning out to be a stud. Kyle Pitts is getting more involved as of last week. So I think they do all right, but I think Cleveland takes this one. Washington and Dallas. Speaking of tough defenses, Dallas is one of them. So I got to take Dallas in this game against Washington, who didn't look good last week. If you had Carson Wentz as a fantasy quarterback, he threw up a dud for you. So gonna have to take Dallas in this one. Seattle and Detroit. It's honestly another interesting game. Looking at it on paper, Seattle's looking all right. Geno Smith isn't looking absolutely terrible. It's a consolation there. Detroit looking pretty dang good, to be honest, for a Detroit team. Jared Goff is playing well, but they gave up 2 10-point leads last week. So it's a tough one for me to pick. No DeAndre Swift, more than likely. Amon-Ra St. Brown's on the injury report. A lot of things could go wrong here. But I'm going to take Detroit because I still think, just from the bodies of work we've seen from both teams, Detroit is the better squad. Then Tennessee against Indy. Already kind of talked about this game. We're taking Indy. Better overall, in my opinion. Then we've got Chicago going up against the Giants. I think this is going to be an absolute garbage time game. It's just not going to look good. I think Saquon Barkley shines through, and the Giants get the win. Jacksonville and Philly. Got to go with Philly. I am sitting on right now that I think they are the best team in the league. Jacksonville's doing great. They're pretty hot, but I don't see them being able to knock off Philly with how high-powered their offense is looking and how decent their defense looks. Jets and Pittsburgh. Screw it. Give me the Jets. Zach Wilson, going to be back this week. Going to be a big game for him. I don't know. Probably not, but Pittsburgh's offense doesn't look all that great either. Their defense without TJ Watt just doesn't have an identity. So give me the Jets for that one. Buffalo and Baltimore. This is another tough one to pick, but I got to go with Buffalo. Just looking at the discrepancies in the defenses, you got the best versus the worst, and you're going up against an offense and Josh Allen that is just super, super good. I think it's just harder for the Baltimore Ravens to move the ball on the Bills defense than it will be for the Bills defense to move it on Baltimore's defense. So we're going to take Buffalo there. The Chargers in Houston seems like a trap game, especially since the Chargers lost last week to Jacksonville, but we're not sleeping on Jacksonville anymore. They're a good team. So we're going to not panic here. We're going to take the Chargers over Houston. Arizona and Carolina. Arizona, I mean, they should be better than what they are. They just haven't been doing that as of late. Carolina, who knows what their identity is anymore? Christian McCaffrey, he's not, I think he's on the injury report, but he's going to be on the injury report every week. I think he's fine. He's playing fine. But the offense doesn't seem to evolve or revolve around him. So it's been a little tougher for them. Gotta go Arizona here. I just see more talent on that team. See more things being able to fall their way. New England and Green Bay, not even thinking about it, taking Green Bay there. Aaron Rodgers looks like he found himself a number one. We'll see if that continues this week with Romeo Doubs. But I think regardless, Green Bay is going to take the cake there. Denver and Vegas. I mean, we've seen Vegas's offense move the ball. We haven't really seen that from the Broncos, but Vegas is struggling just as much as Denver. They're 0-3. Denver's 2-1. Denver's got a better defense, so let's go with the Broncos there. Then on Sunday night, we've got that Kansas City and Tampa Bay game. Until the Buccaneers figure out how to play offense this season, I'm going to pick against them. They've got a really, really good defense, but that didn't matter last week against Green Bay, who's a struggling offense, because they couldn't get it done on offense themselves. We're taking Kansas City in a bounce-back game here against Tampa. And then the Rams and San Francisco sitting on Monday night, two other teams that are underperforming where I believe they should be. Matt Stafford apparently doesn't have to throw touchdowns because Cooper Kupp will just run for them. He's turning into their entire offense. I wouldn't be surprised if he throws a touchdown instead of Matt Stafford this week. But we'll take the Rams here. I just think overall they are the better team. But again, I'm not too good at picking Monday night games, so I might not listen to me there. We're taking the Rams. So we got Miami, Minnesota, Cleveland, Dallas, Detroit, Indianapolis, the Giants, Philly, the Jets, Buffalo, the Chargers, Arizona, Green Bay, Denver, Kansas City, and the Rams. That is it for this week. If you didn't catch the show yesterday with Dylan Corbett, that is the betting show, Lucky Bets. Go check that out on YouTube after you've watched this video. And if you still need some fantasy advice before Thursday night football hits tonight, hop onto onto YouTube as well. Check out the show that I did on Tuesday. That is the fantasy show. If you're right now watching this on YouTube, hop on over to Twitch, 9 o'clock on Tuesdays and Thursdays, rolling here, hopefully get some sort of conversation started, answer questions if anybody has questions as well, give my best advice that I can come up with off the top of my head. Don't forget to like the video, give it a comment, subscribe if you're sitting there on YouTube, follow, I guess, if you're here on Twitch. And if you don't want to watch the show, you can always listen to it on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Anchor, anywhere else you listen to podcasts, you can find it there as well. But that's it for this week. Join us next week on Tuesday for the fantasy show. But until then, good luck with your picks. Have some fun. Good luck with fantasy. And let's get ready for Thursday night football. Thanks, guys.